I'm Pete Piano. Today, I'm going to tell you all about me and my family. There's a whole bunch of us, you know. We're found almost everywhere you can imagine. In schools and theaters, concert halls, on ships, in hospitals, and in people's homes. Maybe you even have one of my relatives at your house. We come in different shapes and sizes, too. Take me. I'm what you call a grand piano. Isn't that a lovely name? I'm big and fancy, and people usually play me on a stage because you need a lot of room when I'm around. I'm about 9 feet long. Of course, I've got a baby brother who might fit into a living room. We just call him Baby Grand. He doesn't play quite as loudly as I do, but he's very handsome all the same. Many people who have pianos in their houses like our cousin Upright. See how he stands against the wall nice and neatly? Upright fits most anywhere. If you do have a piano at home or in your school, how many of you have ever tried to play it? Ouch! Ooh, that must really hurt. You know, we pianos may look tough. But honestly, we're very sweet instruments. We were made to make music, all kinds of music. Music for people to listen to, music for people to sing and dance to. We're nice fellows, we pianos. We get along with everybody. Of course, sometimes we like to show off a little bit and be heard all by ourselves. But we like to play along with voices, too.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
And lots of times, we really enjoy working with the instruments in the orchestra. Now, I'm going to tell you about my family tree. First comes great-grandfather Clavichord. He's the oldest member of the family. Next comes grandfather Harpsichord. He's been around a long time, too. Then there's Father Piano-forte, and that's me, Pete Piano, on the top of the tree. Along about 600 years ago, people started making and playing my great-grandfather Clavichord. Here he is. As you can see, he looks sort of like a long box on a table. Inside are his strings, but outside is something new, a keyboard, just like the ones used for organs. That's how he got his name. The Latin word clavis means key. And since people had to strike his keys to make his strings or chords sound, they called him clavichord. Playing the clavichord was pretty simple. All you did was to press the keys down on the keyboard, and inside the clavichord, the keys were attached to pieces of metal called tangents, which jumped up and hit the strings inside. For many years, clavichord was very popular because he had such a soft, sweet sound. But musicians kept writing new music, music that was getting bigger and louder and more powerful. This new music just couldn't be played on a sweet little clavichord. So along came Grandfather Harpsichord. Here he is, almost as handsome as I am. As you can see, Harpsichord also had strings inside of him. But Grandfather was stubborn and liked to be different from everyone else. You couldn't just gently strike his strings. Oh, no, not Grandfather. Instead of pieces of metal, Harpsichord had quills attached to his keys, quills from stiff bird feathers. And when you hit one of his keys, the quills jumped up inside and plucked the strings. This is how he sounded. Yes, I'm afraid Grandfather was a bit of a show-off. For instance, he had to have two keyboards, one on top of the other. On one, you could get loud tones, and on the other, the softer tones. You could play the keyboards separately or together, using one hand for each. Many people liked the music they could play on Harpsichord, but he wasn't perfect either. Then, along around the 18th century, musical instrument makers started fooling around with new instruments that they hoped would be even better than the harpsichord. They wanted an instrument that could be played much louder. They wanted to be able to bring the keyboard up out of the box of the instrument so the player's hands would be more comfortable. But most of all, musicians were looking for an instrument that could play notes repeatedly and quickly, like this. You just couldn't do that on a harpsichord. And now, here comes Father. That's him. It was the year 1709, and an Italian instrument maker named Bartolomeo Cristofori had just finished making him. One keyboard, that's all he got, but one was all he needed. It could play both loud and soft. In Italian, piano means soft, and forte means loud. So since he could play both loud and soft on his one amazing keyboard, Mr. Cristofori called him the piano-forte, or the soft loud. As you can see, Father is quite a bit smaller than I am. Over the more than 250 years since he was invented, many people have worked to improve him. They found ways of making him louder, and even softer, with a rich, mellow sound. And I'm the final result. Neither of us were really very much like Grandfather Harpsichord at all. Instead of quills to pluck our strings, Cristofori gave us little hammerheads made of metal and covered with leather. Today, our hammers are covered with felt, but they still work in much the same way. When someone hit one of our keys, we didn't take it lying down. We hit back. The hammer jumps up and strikes our strings boldly. That's why, although we are stringed instruments, we pianos are also cousins of the drum family. Here's one of the drums. You see, you have to hit him too to get him to make a sound. Drum and I are both really what you call percussion instruments. Percuss means to hit. Now, how about a closer look inside of me? Here are my strings spread out in a fan shape. Each of the 88 black and white keys on my keyboard has separate strings. My high notes each have 3 strings made of steel. My low notes have just 2 wires, and my very lowest have only 1. And all of these many strings are pulled very tight and attached to a heavy steel frame. My hammers are made of felt, and my sounding board, yes, I said sounding board. What do you mean, what's a sounding board? Well, for goodness sakes, I thought you knew. Well, look at me, my outsides, I mean. A large, handsome wooden case, right? I'm not just good looking, you know. That wood is there for a reason. You put all of my insides, strings, hammers, frame, and all that stuff inside this hollow wooden case or body, and it vibrates along with my strings when they're hit. That makes the sound bigger and richer and better. Now, see those little things down there at the bottom? Those things that look like feet? Well, they're my pedals. The one on the right side makes the sounds from my strings keep right on vibrating as long as you hold it down. Otherwise, my strings stop vibrating as soon as you lift your finger from the key. The pedal on the left side makes me sound softer. The one in the middle has a special job. It lets my lower notes keep vibrating even after you lift your finger. That means you can play other higher notes with your left hand while the pedal holds the lower notes. Not all of my brothers and sisters have this middle pedal, but they all have the right and left pedals. Well, that's me. That's how I work. And I can do all sorts of interesting things. There have been many composers who wrote music just for the piano, and others who wrote music for pianos and other instruments to play together. When the great musician Beethoven first started writing, pianos were pretty new, and most of the good ones were being made in England. Here is an excerpt from his most famous piano composition. What does it remind you of? When it was first heard, many people thought it reminded them of moonlight, and they began to call it the Moonlight Sonata. That's one way we pianos can sound. Here's another. That's different, isn't it? It was written by the greatest composer for the piano, Frédéric Chopin. One day, he had gone to visit an old friend and watched her little dog chasing his tail around and around. Chopin laughed. Then he sat down at the piano and began to play what we now call the minute waltz, as fast as the little dog chased his tail about. As the years went by, new kinds of music came and went, but we pianos were ready for all of them. More and more people were learning how to play us. It's really not hard at all. And soon, we were being brought into houses all over. Families used to get together in the evening and stand around us playing and singing. Of course, that was before television. People played us at parties and dances, and every boy and girl whose family owned one of us was given piano lessons, whether he wanted them or not. It sounded awful, But we didn't mind because we knew that if they kept at it long enough, they could make us sound beautiful, like this. In America, all sorts of new things were happening in music. In the early 1900s, a strange kind of music was beginning to be played. Well, let me tell you, it feels very funny to go from this to this. But it was kind of fun, and it didn't take us pianos long to get used to it. And then, some smart aleck who wanted to play the piano and never learned, invented a piano with a kind of machine inside of it that played music all by itself. They put a roll of paper with little holes in it inside the piano and pumped air through some pipes by working the pedals on the bottom. Did you ever hear of such a thing? All these people pretending they were really playing, and all the time it was that darn machine. Would you believe it? They're still making a few of them today. More years went by, and all kinds of new music was tried on us. Jazz, swing, bop, rock and roll. We learned them all. Today, we pianos are still very popular. People are still writing music for us. Children are still learning to play us. And almost everywhere, when someone sits down beside one of us and opens our case and begins to play, soon lots of people gather round to listen and to sing. It's a busy life for us pianos, but we enjoy it because music makes people happy. Well, that's all for now. It was great talking to you. Hope I'll see you real soon at some pianos somewhere. Look for me. I'll be looking for you. Bye.